New Delhi, the Trade Ministry of India and the UK would meet in London on January 11 as part of the Joint Economic Trade Committee (JETCO) deliberation to boost bilateral commerce. Next, India-UK Joint E-Commerce and Trade Committee (JETCO) meeting co-chaired by the Commerce and Industry Minister Suresh Prabhu, to be held in London on January 11, 2018. The Department of Commerce said in a tweet. In the last meeting, both sides reviewed the progress and held in the joint working groups on areas like smart cities and advanced manufacturing. The bilateral trade between India and the UK dipped to $12.2 billion in 2016-17, as against the $14 billion in the previous fiscal year. India received a $24.9 billion foreign investment from Britain between April 2002 to September 2017 of FDI. As of India's probes cheap detergent chemical imports from China, India has initiated an anti-dumping probe into imports of Chinese chemical used in the detergent following the complaints from some domestic companies. Gujarat Credo, Emerald Industries and Chemical India have filed an application before the Directorate General of Anti-Dumping and Allied Duties, a DGAD, for the initiation of investigation into the imports of Geolite Fourier, a detergent grade, from China. In a notification, the DGAD said that prima facie it has found sufficient evidence of dumping of the chemical. The anti-dumping duty, if imposed, would help guard the domestic players in the sector against the cheap imports of the product. The authority hereby initiates an investigation into the alleged dumping and the consequent injury to the domestic industry, it said. In the probe, it would determine the existence and the effect of the alleged dumping and recommend the amount of anti-dumping duty which is levied would be adequate to remove the injury to the domestic industry. The period from April 2016 to June 2017, or 15 months' time, will be taken for the probe. The countries carry out the anti-dumping probe to determine whether their domestic industries have been hurt because of the surge in the cheap imports. As a countermeasure, they import duties under the multilateral regime of WTO. The duty is aimed at ensuring the fair trading practices and creating a level playing field for the domestic producers with regard to the foreign producers and the exporters. India has already imposed anti-dumping duty on the several products of tackle cheap imports including from China. The country has imposed the duty on many 98 products as on December 27 last year of 2017 imported from China. So what do you think of the new bilateral economic trade between India and UK and the new anti-dumping policy against China's imports to India?
After years of neglect, African agriculture is being recognized as a powerful driver of the continent's relentless growth. Agriculture and the business of buying and selling the food grown in Africa now accounts for nearly half the continent's economic activity. Today, Africa's agriculture and food market is worth $310 billion and has the opportunity to grow to $1 trillion by 2030. An efficient sector could increase incomes, boost jobs, and reduce hunger and environmental degradation while building shared prosperity.
Today, Brazil, Indonesia, and Thailand export more food product than all of the sub-Saharan African countries combined. It's time to change this.
Despite being home to half of the world's fertile uncultivated land and abundant water resources, African farmers get the smallest amount of produce from their crops globally. Africans import half the rice they eat and pay top dollar for it, $3.5 billion per year and more. At the country level, businesses are unable to maximize their potential because of erratic border policies, poor infrastructure, and poorly functioning input markets, including for seeds and fertilizers. Lack of access to capital is also a hindrance. For instance, while Senegal is competitive among its neighbors, it is held back by the difficulty farmers have accessing land, capital, finance for irrigation expansion, and appropriate crop varieties. Further east, Ghana produces fewer types of rice than Senegal, but at a significantly higher cost. The country also imports rice, but levies 40% tariffs and other charges, pushing up the price for consumers. Poor grain quality, lack of cleanliness and packaging are major deterrents for consumers, constraining the sector's performance.
We still see challenges in the business environment, ranging from poor infrastructure and high transportation costs, erratic policy interventions in the agricultural markets and trade, and difficulties being faced by smallholder farmers and small businesses like FreshCo. There's need for greater interventions in developing the informal value chains and also linking them with the formal value chains.
Maize or corn is a food staple for many Africans. Zambia is competitive when importing maize. It levies fewer tariffs, but fails on exports. Compared to Thailand, a major producer of rain-fed maize, it costs Zambia 3 times more to produce the grain because of the high transport costs, higher labor costs, and lower yields.
If we take an example of Kenya, which has been a major exporter of fresh produce to the EU, and smallholder farmers would grow crops such as green beans and export them to the EU market. This is not happening now because of the stringent conditions that have been put in the EU, where smallholder farmers cannot be able to meet these standards. There is need, therefore, to support these farmers so that they can be able to do business in this changing environment by giving them skills that can assist them.
Cocoa is another example. It is sub-Saharan Africa's most important export crop. Ghana, Africa's largest cocoa producer, has upgraded technology and management, but yields are low because of aging farmers and aging trees. Ghana needs a substantial boost in investment to upgrade plantations and make growing cocoa a profitable venture. The result of these challenges to African food production and trade is more imports and rising food prices, coupled with the rising threat of climate change.
African farmers and businesses must be empowered through good policies, increased public and private investment, and strong public-private partnerships.
Africa is at a crossroads. A dynamic private food industry can work side by side with governments to link farmers to consumers in an increasingly urbanized continent. By investing in the agribusiness sector, African countries can tap into regional and global food markets, make more food available locally, and boost exports. About 60 kilometers west of Ghana's capital, Accra, in the heart of the Pineapple Belt, Gold Coast Fruits farm manager Patrick Osei Seribor is checking on his harvest. These sweet and tangy pineapples are destined for dinner tables in Europe, North Africa, the Middle East, as well as Ghana, so quality control is an important part of business. Pineapples are a very time-consuming fruit to grow. In fact, these spiny fruit take more than a year to reach maturity. So it's very important for growers like Gold Coast Fruits to make sure their plants have everything they need to reach their potential, or risk disaster at harvest time.
We were planting along the slopes of the land, but with the intervention of SDF, we have realized that the main challenge that we have with the diseases and then the erosion of the land has been solved, because they have incorporated into a design of our layout drains that are taking water from the root zones of the plants and then to the various areas where the water will not be stagnant around the root zones of the plant to cause the Phytophthora disease.
For Seribor, drainage has been a particularly important part of the Skills Development Fund in which the farm was enrolled in 2013. Through this fund, he and his team learned that stagnant water causes pineapple diseases that can blight nearly an entire harvest. But that's not all. With the help of a $61,000 grant from the World Bank-supported Ghana Skills and Technology Development Project, Seribor was able to bring pineapple specialists all the way from Central America in a skills transfer that's meant a big improvement to his business.
Before then, the combination of the fertilizers that we are using was a big challenge. And when and how to use those fertilizers was also a big challenge. But with the SDF, we were able to bring consultants from Costa Rica that have been able to train us to improve on our application and when to apply and what chemical at what point in time of our operations. And that has also helped us to curb the incidence of the phytophthora diseases that we used to have.
With the help of the Skills Development Fund and other partners, Gold Coast Fruits is now the 4th largest pineapple exporter in Ghana.
Now, before we were having about 35 tons, we've raised to 40 tons, 45 tons now. But with all these technologies imparted with us, coupled with new machines that we are using, in the next 2, 3 to 5 years, we want to increase our production from 45 tons to 55 tons.
The success of the farm has carried over to the community. The farm has made fair trade agreements with importers abroad, and this has further helped the community meet more than just their basic needs.
We've also increased our premium that we are getting from our fair trade markets, and that has also helped us to engage in many community activities. We are providing books, textbooks, and school uniform to schools around the vicinity of the catchment area of the farm. We have also provided scholarship to certain brilliant but needy students around the communities.
Post your comments below, and if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and follow us on social networks and subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching. This is WC Daily. Think big, think different. Bye.